Hi, everybody. I am Bethany Autumn, and this is the Bear All podcast. Um, Today's been a little interesting. I've tried to record this episode now for I'm going on like an hour of trying to talk about a couple of different topics, and unfortunately, I'm just having a really I feel like I have podcaster's block. Like I'm just kind of stuck. I kind of had a topic that I wanted to touch base on because I felt like it was going to flow into my next episode really well, which is I have another guest coming on. And I kind of realized that maybe it's okay if my episodes don't flow sometimes as much as I'd like them to. Because this is also for me just a healing journey, and I just want to be able to talk about things that are kind of important. So I just talked a little bit about some different things, and I feel like those weren't exactly flowing as well as I'd like to. So I kind of want to talk about like sort of my journey into I kind of just want to talk about like Bear All, just the name of it. I felt like it was really a great name because it was like not only Bear All can represent like being naked, but also being vulnerable and being honest and like bearing all of yourself to the world. And I felt like it was kind of interesting and unique to use that name because not only do I want to tell these deep and personal stories and events in my life, but I also wanted to be able to talk a little bit about my journey as an art model, which literally requires me to bear all in front of groups of people for, the purpose of creating art. And I truly find art to be so healing and so inspirational. And I mean, think about it. We go back thousands of years, and some of the most beautiful pieces of artwork are sculptures of naked women and men and paintings, um, just showing our bodies, in their most beautiful, true, and natural forms, and showing every wrinkle and hair, sometimes almost over exaggerating the parts of the body that nowadays sometimes we try to fix. And I think for me, it really helped to build this, it really helped build self confidence because I felt like that was something that I was truly lacking. So it's so interesting because I think I mentioned this before in an episode where when back in the day, I had this lady, she made a comment to me about, she's like, you'd be such a great art model. You have such a great figure. And I feel like you just have this almost like angelic like look about you that is very Renaissance painting. And I found that very flattering at the time, but I hadn't done really much modeling at that point other than like a couple of things because, the photographer that I was working for at the time had asked me like, "Oh, can you model for this shoot?" Stuff like that. Nothing was ever on a creative level of like um, you know, I would say art modeling, but more like commercial modeling. And I had always been fascinated by art modeling. Mind you, I have two art degrees. So, I had worked with models in college and I really, really loved figure drawing. And so I had always been fascinated about it. And I remember actually having a friend at one time who said, "Oh, yeah, I did figure drawing and it was so cool." And I was like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. Do you have to be like completely naked for this?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." And I was like, "Does that make you uncomfortable?" And they're like, "No, because everybody around you is a professional and they're really creating something beautiful. So it really does not bother me at all." And I felt inspired by that. And I really had always wanted to try it. I was just very fascinated by it. And, my uh, husband at the time was completely against it. He's like, "Absolutely not. You're not allowed to do anything sexy. You're not allowed to do anything nude. You know, um, pretty much, I own you. You're not allowed to do this." And I just remember being so upset with I'm like, this is my body. I'm allowed to do what I want with it. And, like, forget what you say. I can do what I want with my body, but I wasn't allowed to. Like, it wasn't allowed. So it's so crazy because actually I remember right out, I had worked with a lovely photographer. Her name's Lisa Wood. If you've never seen her photography, you need to go check her out. Eventually, I'd love to have her on as a guest. And at the time, she was only really doing makeup and hadn't even really gotten to photography at that point. And she had done my makeup for this shoot, and she was like, "Oh, you're stunning. I love working with you. I'd love to body paint you at some point." And I was like, "Oh, body painting, that sounds so cool. I'd love to do it, but it does require you to be naked and have somebody paint you." So I remember bringing the idea up to my husband at the time, and he was just like, "Absolutely not. I'm not going to allow you to do that." So that was one of the first things that I did when I left my marriage was I messaged her and I was like, and she had already started getting into photography at that time, and because I would go and do photo shoots with her, and I remember giving her one of my cameras, and we would always do these really creative things together, and I was like, an amazing artistic connection, a great collaboration, and it was I just remember messaging her and being like, "You're body painting me now. This is going to happen. I want to make this happen. This is like my almost like my divorce present in a way. I need to do this." So I went, and one of my really good friends at the time came along and assisted with it. And she body painted me, and I felt so powerful. I felt like an Amazon god, like a goddess. Like I was like, "Oh my God, this is so powerful." And I just remember like stripping down, painting. She painted me purple and red, and I had like gold leaf all over like my breasts and down my body and like covering all my areas. And like we did these, I felt like a Greek goddess, like a statue of pure just Renaissance art. It was amazing. I felt so like, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And I remember seeing the photographs and immediately like being like, "This is so beautiful. Like, I love this so much. I would love to do more stuff like this." So for me, that's kind of like how my almost art modeling journey started, because I constantly wanted to do more things like that. So I started to get like, I would say a little bit more risky with the modeling that I was doing, where I would, take off a little bit more clothing. I tried to always be tasteful when I was taking my clothes off. I never tried to be too sexy, because I felt like now it was starting to almost cross over into a line of like, I don't want this to seem like pornographic. I really want to have this be like art. So it was I always loved working with female. Whenever I would do stuff like this, I would only work with female photographers. Or I did like self-portrait work, which I still do to this day. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, is like getting into art modeling kind of helped me actually create my OnlyFans page. And I don't judge anybody who does OnlyFans. I don't care what you do on it, but I think it's sometimes good to differentiate what you do. Like if you do porn, be honest about the fact that you do porn, because guess what? That's the content that some people might look for. And if you're not, like whenever I say I have an OnlyFans, I think people think that I do porn. I do not. I don't show things that I don't want, and I don't perform sexual acts ever in any way, shape, or form, even if it's like, you know, faking to perform an act. I don't do that. Everything that I do, I would be comfortable printing and hanging in an art gallery, because I really, really try to create art. And I've had, and I've had it now for about 2 years, and I've only ever had to block one person, and I have recently had somebody make a rude comment to me, and that's who I blocked. They said that, you know, just setting up a camera with good lighting doesn't make your smut art. And I was like, that's okay, whatever. You're paying for this, so thanks for your money and have a great day. That's really rude, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. Um, but for me, it's like before I ever started doing any of the OnlyFans stuff, it was really art modeling. I've worked at many colleges over across the capital region. Siena, Union. I've gone up to Bard College. I work for a couple different like collective art groups, Albany Barn. I've met so many amazing, talented artists, like whether it's painters, sculptors. Like at one of the events, I had somebody who brought in like forks and they sculpted the forks to the form of my body that I was it was super cool. And I have people like drawing on iPads or using more traditional mediums like, you know, charcoal or graphite. Sometimes we'll have watercolorists come in. So I really love being able to see what people can create. And through these art groups, I've been connected with art professors, and then they've hired me for their classes at colleges and stuff. So it's like um, so many truly great experiences that I've had. And I was like, you know what? If I can stand here for 3 hours and only get paid $30 an hour to do that, which mind you, that's not a lot of money. I want to advocate for art models and say we truly deserve to be getting paid a minimum of 50 an hour. But we accept what we can accept. We accept what we can because there's only so much work, you know? Um, but you know, when you're getting paid $30 an hour to stand or sit and hold a position, the longest I've ever held a pose was an hour and 12 minutes. It was a reclined pose, so I was like kind of laying on this soft surface and I had my arm up above my head like this, like laying back and stuff. And I remember like when I was moving out of that position, like your body really hurts. This stuff is not easy, and I had to get back into that pose again for another hour and a half. I did take breaks the second halfway, like way through. So but it's just like it's not an easy thing. You really have to have a unique set of skills to be an art model because you have to be able to maintain the same pose for long periods of time. And you also have to be comfortable with the fact that, you know, you have anywhere from 20 to sometimes almost 40 people looking at you naked from every single angle. And it's not an easy job, but it is so rewarding when you can walk around. Like every time I'm done, I throw on my robe and I walk around the room and I'm in awe at the way that people see me because it helps me look at myself in a different way and be like, wow, it's so beautiful to think that I inspired you and I was that muse to help you create that piece of art. And of course, you know, there's a difference between when I work for like a professional group of artists, like when I do stuff for they're called the Riverfront Group, and they get together on Wednesday nights. And when I used to have the time to model for them, oh my god, I loved it because I had so many talented professional artists who have been doing this for 30, 40 years, some of them. And so the difference of art that you're going to see at that level versus when you're doing like I do a lot of beginner figure drawing classes. The level of technique that you're going to see is very different. So sometimes like I'll have somebody who will like it kind of looks more like an awkward stick figure in a way versus like some artists can get something completed in like 30 minutes and it's like a full drawing and you're like, wow, this is truly amazing. So it's like it's rewarding on so many different levels because you know that you're like helping that young artist grow. And like, you know, I was there at one point where, you know, I was drawing models and it was so inspiring to have a live model pose for you versus like just using a little, you know, wooden figurine that you adjust and try to work out anatomy based on that. Um, so I truly think that like art modeling is something that we need to continue to have. Um, and I think that we should pay our models better to continue to help provide them work. And and for me, that's kind of why I ended up jumping into OnlyFans because I was like, okay, well, now I get to not only control the amount that I charge, but I can control the image that gets out there because you know, um, I I won't do nude photography for other photographers because that's something I do for me. Like it my self-portrait work is something that I take very seriously and it's my art and I love that and I feel like when I'm doing art modeling and people are just drawing or painting me, it's they're now creating that image and it's how they perceive me as where like I guess for me, I just don't really want other photographers to have those images and own those images, because that's me and that's what you know, I think that everybody's entitled to like their own things. And I mean, maybe one day that would change depending on like what I was doing and stuff. But for now, I'm really, really happy with the work that I create. And I really love being able to use my my body the way that I want to. And I think for me it was also so empowering. Like I said, that first time I ever left, when I left my husband and I was like, I want to get body painted. It was like finally being able to have that control over my own body and being able to do whatever I wanted to. Till this day, whenever I do anything like that, I'm like, this is my body and I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do with it. And in all of my years of art modeling, I think I've been doing it now since 20 late 2019 was when I started it. Yeah, because it was before the pandemic. So I've been doing it for about 5 years now. And in all the times that I've ever done it, I've always felt so safe and so comfortable. And it's really helped me make so many amazing connections in the art world. And eventually I would love to be able to have different artists that I've worked with, be able to come on the podcast and talk about like their experiences and with art and everything. It's just, it really gave me a whole new perspective on confidence as well, because like, you know, there's some days where I'd be like really, really bloated, or like my period would start and I'd be like, oh God, I got to do this right now. And like, you know, you got your little tips and tricks to be able to like hide when you're on your period and stuff when you're art modeling. Cause like, I mean, some people opt to wearing underwear. I don't. I'm just like, nope, I'm working past this and it's a natural thing. I'm going to do it. And it's it's a really interesting and unique experience for sure. And it's definitely made me realize like how appreciative I am of when I do modeling on camera with photographers when I have clothing on, where I'm like, wow, this is almost like easier now because I'm like not like holding a pose for an hour. Or usually I hold poses in fragments of like 20 to 30 minutes and stuff. So but either way, it's just been a really great way to find different artists to collaborate with. And I've had professional artists hire me to come and do like poses for like longer poses for like a painting. And those always come out so beautiful because like when you really are able to do one-on-one with somebody, you're able to really create something unique. But I always love the classes when I have like a 360 view because you get all these different angles of your body. And it's so, you know, I curate my own photography, like on my OnlyFans, to be almost like all of it. I wouldn't say it all looks the same, but it all has a very similar style where, you know, I'm really trying to create this specific look or this specific storyline. And, you know, sometimes it's meant to be more like innocent, and then other times it's meant to be more grand and sort of like, you know, really sort of creative. I've always thought of maybe getting into some type of cosplay, but because I don't watch a lot of certain things, so I'm like, I don't know, that's so hard for me to do. But like just being able to get creative and stuff, I really love it because I love doing hair and makeup and I love fashion and I love being able to add accessories and do all these crazy wild things. So it's just been a really, really unique experience on my modeling journey. And I know that I would never really fit commercial and runway modeling. Maybe some commercial, like I've done some stuff like that, but like, and I've done some runway, but like I'm talking about like real runway modeling where you're like you're getting paid to do it. I'm too short. I'm too short. I'm too curvy. I have scoliosis. My walk is not as straight as I'd like it to be. You know, I'm 5'4" and I large chested, wide hips, and I don't fit that standard, but I have the perfect body for art modeling. So there's so many times where I've had other people reach out to me and they're like, "Oh, I would really really love to be able to get into modeling." And it's like, "Okay, well, what kind?" I think that's always so important to figure out what niche you also fit in. Cuz like unfortunately, like I know I have so many great friends who are in modeling professionally, whether it's in amateur modeling, whether it's art modeling. There's so many different types. Like I definitely fall into the category where I'm really good with like lingerie, art, and certain commercial stuff. I don't have the height and skinny figure to be able to do other types of high fashion commercial photography versus like runway stuff. Um, every once in a while, I can dabble in that stuff based on like a connection or a friend or something like that. Um, but it's it's definitely a unique world to be a part of, and I think that I'm really really lucky in the sense that all of my modeling stuff has really been based on what I want to do. And for me, it's always been like more about like finding opportunities that are fun and exciting and portfolio building for me. Like I've never had an agent, so like it's not like I've had to worry about that type of stuff. For me, it's always been about like, oh, I want to do something because I think it's going to be fun and creative. And you know, I also, when it comes to like the art modeling and stuff, I'm looking at it as a job where I'm like I want to have a paid gig, so I want to do this and that. Um so I mean, yeah, I feel like this was kind of like more of a like a quick episode because there's only so much that I can um talk about on this topic before I feel like I'm just completely ranting. Um but I did write some stuff and I just want to read off a little bit about it. I might have already mentioned some of this, but like um nudity and creating nude art is not sexual to me. But it has helped me find the love in myself and boost my self confidence and battle body dysmorphia. It has given me control and taken the power back from the men who have controlled me. Both my ex husband and other men that I have dated have complained about me doing art modeling and sort of them being upset with me about being naked in front of others. And other people never let me try this. And then when I finally started doing it myself, I was able to really find my place in the art community and really feel appreciated and passionate about it. Um, I actually never personally had the experience of working with nude models when I was in college. I worked with models, but they were never completely nude. And the first time I had ever had a nude art experience was actually when I was modeling for my very first class. And I was so nervous the first time. Oh my God, first time I ever did it, I was super, super, super nervous. And the lady whose class that I modeled for has actually become a great friend of mine. And she is still this day one of my favorite artists to work for. She's very inspiring and has used me for a lot of her personal work too. And it's great because when you find artists who want a nude model, they're always willing to pay you what you're worth. And that is something that I appreciate so much. As where when you work for institutions, sometimes they're not willing to pay as much because, the colleges only have this amount of budget for models. And you guys should really be paying us more. Pay us more. Um, and but I love to be able to help other people find inspiration and learn to love themselves and their bodies better. I truly think that like if you've ever wanted to try art modeling, it's like any body, any shape and figure is totally accepted and totally embraced and loved in the art modeling community. They don't always want the really skinny girl. They don't always want the really, like I have a very hourglass figure. They don't always want that. We want, they want men. They want you to be hairy. They want you to be heavier. They want you to have unique features about it, about your body that make it really interesting to draw. So if it's something that you have always wanted to do, feel free to reach out to me because I have a lot of people who are always looking for that for their classes. Um, and I think that it's just sort of a really unique self-love experience, and it can be intimidating for sure. But I do find it very fascinating, and I think that other people should learn to accept it, because we need to continue to have these types of models in the art world in order to continue to create and have people learn traditional forms of figure drawing. Because, like I said, you can only use a fake wooden model or a skeleton for so many different poses and stuff like that. That's actually a really funny story. One of the first college classes I modeled for, I needed to sit next to one of those large life-size skeletons. We were doing the same pose. So it was just like chilling next to a skeleton for 2 weeks, because it was a 2 week class. So I had 3 hours with him one day and 3 hours with him in the other, and we were doing the same exact pose. And he sat more still than I did. It was very funny though, but it was about learning about how, like, the contour lines of the body, but also like learning how the bone structure in the body also like lines, but then also the shapes of the figure. So it was just really funny, like sitting next to a skeleton for a total of 6 hours over 2 weeks. So I've definitely had some really interesting experiences with art modeling. But don't. Uh, it's so hard. I know I'm the worst critic of myself. I have body dysmorphia, and sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, bleh. But then I have to keep reminding myself that we are all beautiful and unique individuals, and it's really best for us to say positive things to ourselves, because we only have one body in this lifetime, and we have to learn to be able to respect it and to live in it. And if you have something about your body that you don't like, then try to find ways to either learn to like it, or try to fix it. That means, like, if you have a little bit too much weight and you want to lose that, figure out a way to do it. It's not easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I've struggled a lot with loving my body and figuring out different ways to love it. And I think for me, that was really what I loved most about doing the nude art modeling, was just being like, on days where I'd go in and feel bloated and gross, I would look at the way somebody drew me, and even if they drew it accurately and it showed that I was a little bloated, or that my boobs were uneven, or some other thing, I would still look at it and be like, that's a beautiful piece of art. And when I'm looking at that and not thinking about it me being me, I'm like, that's a beautiful piece of art. Like, literally go and look up some Renaissance bodies and look at them. They were not Kim Kardashian. They were real bodies with extra meat, extra cellulite, chunky curves everywhere. And it was beautiful. Like, that's what was the standard of beauty at that time. So I think it's really so important to, look at yourself like you are a piece of art, and cherish every single curve, imperfection, scar, wrinkle, cellulite. Cherish it all, because one day in the future, you're going to look back on a picture of yourself right now and think, wow, I was so beautiful. I don't know why I didn't think that at the time, That's actually a line. There's a line very similar to that I wrote in my memoir, where it's like, sometimes I didn't even notice until time had passed how beautiful I was in that moment. And yes, Gizmo, he's done with his nap right now. Oh, he was napped the whole time. Were you tired? Yes. He was like, all I heard was beautiful bodies, and I know that I have the nicest one here. Oh, yes. Yes, Giz. Either way, I hope that you are all inspired to continue to love yourselves, and to continue to love and take care of your bodies and your mind and your mental health. And Gizmo, can you just sit for a minute, my dude? Jeez. And I'm sorry, you're so ridiculous. Um Don't forget to continue to love yourself, guys, because, this life is already very difficult. And when we put all these extra stresses on ourselves that are unnecessary, it makes everything more hard. And I really, really, truly feel like we should all just love ourselves and embrace ourselves and do whatever the hell we want. If you want to get naked and go try out art modeling, oh my God, absolutely go do it. It's a unique experience. If it's not your cup of tea but you still love art, grab a sketch pad, grab some watercolors, grab your iPad that you can draw on and just go to a class and be inspired by everybody else around you. And if you're not comfortable with nudity, then go out and, paint a landscape, do something. Find ways to keep creating art, because art is something that makes this world so unique and beautiful. And I want everybody to continue to find the things in life that make them the happiest. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch this podcast. For all of those out there who have reached out to me personally and said that you love what I'm doing, I hope you guys continue to follow me on this really interesting, wild, and unique journey to self-love and self-healing. And again, I'm Bethany Autumn with the Barrel Podcast. Have a great night, guys.